Might be my arrogance, but ain't nobody stopping me. That's how I go when you pay for the show, you study that pimp biology.
2019, and it is time for your Dead on Dave Live. That's right, we're back. It's been a couple of days since we've done a Dead on Dave Live. I haven't been feeling very good, and there hasn't been a whole hell of a lot that I have been itching and aching and wanting to talk about deep down in my body with all of you guys. But that all changed this weekend, because from an entertainment standpoint, not from a physical standpoint, because from a physical standpoint, your boys fucked up. But from an entertainment standpoint, we had one of the better entertainment weekends that we've had in a long time. I mean, honestly, what a marvelous weekend if you are fans of entertainment. If you love television, you got Game of Thrones last night, easily giving the best episode of the season. If not best episode, it's in my top 5. But that's another show for another day. Now, all the insanity started last week, and there is a big reason why we are here, and it's so good that so many of you guys are chilling out with me. I see Makad. I see Big Butt Lover. Oh, I love me some Big Butt Lover. Code Lemia, Ryan LaRue, Brandon Lowe, all you guys. Make sure you tweet out, stream, let everybody know that we are live. We will be taking your calls, questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, quips, quotes, likes, loves, and so much more about Avengers Endgame, because it's all over. It's done. Endgame is over, and the thing is, the movie was, I think, everything that most of us were expecting it to be. But there were some major changes and some major left turns and right turns and things that we thought might happen that simply didn't fucking happen. And that was really exciting. We're going to talk a lot about that, about things that were set up and weren't set up. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on some of the bigger things that happened throughout the film and all of that good shit. But first, I see Real Talk, the Metaphor Messiah up in the chat. So here's what I need, lottie-dottie, each and every one of you bodies to go ahead and do. Go down in the description box and get yourself a little bit of Real Talk, the Metaphor Messiah. Because unless you're living under a rock, which is very possible, that you are missing Real Talk's journey to the top of the hip-hop mountain. I mean, what has this dude what has he got next? I'll tell you what just came out. We just got a brand new music video from him from across the world, which is something you guys definitely want to check out down below. Mods, throw the link in the chat. Let everybody know where they can go check out our man, your man, my man, Real Talk, the Metaphor Messiah, do his music thing. And hopefully you guys are checking out all of his brand new stuff. And a lot more coming, man, because Real Talk doesn't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Bad boy, baby. Anyways. Probably didn't need that portion of it, more than likely. Didn't need to get into the type stuff, but hey, what are you going to do? There is so much to get into, so much to unpack with Endgame. I went and saw it on Thursday. Let's start there. Let's start with the journey in and of itself, because that's always the difficult one, you know? That's the one that gives people pause. You're not exactly sure some of the things that are happening. You know, in the entire, how you're going to get there, what you're going to do. I totally lost my spot for a second. I'm really sorry. Give me 1 second. I completely lost my spot in just a magnificent way, trying to find a link for something else for another article that I was reading because it had some good information in there, and now I can't get back to the fucking article. Come on, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Now I got that back. I needed that. That was my notes. It was important for my notes. All right. So let's start with Thursday, shall we? We decided to go check out Endgame. I was trying to go the very, very, very first showing. There was like a big special thing at the AMC. And I got a really good AMC close to me, about 2 towns over, something like that. Not very far. Really cool theater. It's got some really good seats. Unfortunately, did nothing to help me this time. The seating did nothing to help me in the slightest, not even a little bit. Unfortunately, after the movie and through the entire weekend, I've just been absolutely destroyed, and it was because of sitting in the theater for as long as I did. So decided to go to the Thursday showing at about 8:45. Was going to go to the one a little bit earlier because there was some really cool like exclusives and all that, but it ended up being not a huge deal. I saw some of the people who had some of the things. I got this wonderful bucket somewhere. I don't know where the hell I put it. I got this incredible Marvel bucket that we got at the theater. Really, really cool Marvel Endgame popcorn bucket. It was huge. It's just gigantic. It's really neat. And that was the coolest thing that I was able to get from the movie. I was hoping to get some of the other things that were happening earlier in the day. But like I said, missed that, but was able to get into a really good little theater. 50 people, very intimate, small, not loud. The seats had some nice space between them, so even if I would have been in regular seats, it still probably would have been okay. But that's the first thing for me. I don't go to theaters anymore because my body can't take it. I can't get through it. It hurts too much. It fucks me up. Like, now this ain't worth it. I'll just wait until it shows up on Xfinity. And that's basically what I do. But with something like Endgame, Captain Marvel was the same way. Detective Pikachu is also going to be pulling me in that same direction. You want to go. You want to be a part of it. These are the things that you want to do. You don't want to miss these things. These are things that people are going to be talking about forever. To this day, people who were at the original showing of Star Wars, people who went with their dads, took their own children, whatever the case may be, those are things that people still talk about to this day. And I guarantee you, Endgame is going to be in that exact same breath. Because if you didn't hear by now, on top of everything else, Endgame made all the money. Now, we say this all the time, like Endgame made all the money, or this game made all the money. This is different. If you haven't heard the total, it almost sounds like a joke. It almost sounds ridiculous. Now, for context, Captain Marvel did incredibly well. Captain Marvel did really, really well. Overachieved, did better than anybody thought it was going to do. And it still took almost a month for it to hit $1 billion. This hit it in 3 fucking days. 1.2 billion with a B. 3 days. $1.2 billion. That's unbelievable. $60 million on its opening day here domestically. It doesn't fucking happen. It doesn't happen. It shattered 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, weekend. Expectations everywhere. China, here. Movie theaters were busted this weekend. $1.2 billion. It is easily, I think there's no question it's going to easily go on to become not only the highest grossing movie of all time, but nobody's catching this. This is such a special thing. The entire MCU is a special thing. This is how many years? Over 20 movies, over 10 years, over 20 some odd movies. And they all work. They all feed into each other to accomplish something, a goal. We went on this ride, and we know the ride's not ending. So there were so many things that we wanted to see from this movie. The things that we knew that we were going to have to see, undoing Infinity War in some ways and moving things forward. How are they going to do it? Would it come off hackneyed? Would it be stupid? What would they do to set up the next phase of MCU? How much is Captain Marvel going to be involved? It seemed like there was a huge emphasis on space, so we're going to be in space the entire movie. None of these things went that way. We didn't get Celestials. We didn't set up the next really big bad for the next movie. This was exactly what it needed to be. Now, it's why I think the movie works so much. Game of Thrones is currently having a little bit of an issue of how to wrap things up properly without messing things up for big mass amounts of its constituency. Marvel faced it, but in a much easier way because of the source material and the things that they'd be able to do afterwards. So while it's the end of a phase, it's not the end of a series or a franchise. There's certain characters that we're not going to see anymore, probably, but I got a feeling, almost, except for one, I got a feeling we're going to end up seeing all of them real soon. Sooner than people might think. Not as an Avengers Assemble type deal, but I think we'll see some of those guys again sooner than what people might think. Even possibly the dead ones, except for Tony. I don't think Tony's coming back. I think Tony's sacrifice, we're going to talk about what I didn't like about the Tony Stark storyline, and it's not much. It's not even that I didn't like it. Let's just start there real quick. I want to rant. There's going to be a lot of rants in this. Tony Stark and the entire situation with Iron Man throughout the movie was so beautifully done in so many ways. It really did captivate. It captivated all of us because we saw Tony go through every stage of human emotion throughout the course of this movie. You know, from being stranded and accepting his fate and his death and being sorry and all this stuff, that all the things that we were seeing while he was on the jet in space dying. You know, then coming back, the time jump, having a child, all these things that happened. We got to see Tony change, priorities change from one extreme to the other. There was all these things that we continue to see throughout the course of the movie. So it became very clear that Tony had to die. But did he have to die in this way? Did they have to go so hard and make us care for his relationship with his child? I love you 3000. Oh my fucking God, Brandon Love. I know, right? Right in the heart. Like, these are the last things that you're expecting to, because for one, child actors and all that stuff, sometimes they don't resonate at all. Even if they have 3 or 4 movies or a lot of time, this kid got thrown right in, and we all fucking immediately fell in love with her and Tony and Pepper. When you saw Tony's daughter wearing Pepper Potts's Iron Man, come on, man, that was incredible. And then to later get to see Pepper do it as well. It was awesome. It really did just touch me in all the right ways. Nick the Oreo, he liked cheeseburgers too. Don't, Nick. Don't do that to me right now. I can't deal with it. If I have to relive that moment where she said cheeseburgers, and when you see Happy, played by Jon Favreau, just go, I died, man, because there were a lot of callbacks to a lot of things in this movie, Iron Man being a very big one, obviously, because this was the end of Tony's story, and they did a really good job of telling that without taking over the story. It never for a second ever felt like it was Iron Man 17, you know what I mean? It always felt like an Avengers movie that was trying to accomplish something very specific, and they did. There's so, like I said, there's so much to unpack, so let's start with a question. I want to go with a question to the chat real quick, and we're going to get to a lot of things throughout the course of the show. And I want you guys to call in. We're going to take calls immediately. If you have stuff you want to talk about, feel free to jump into Discord. I want to get as many people in here. I want to talk about as many things. I want your theories, your favorite moments, whatever. But here is my question to you. Do you feel that Tony Stark needed to die? That's the first question. Do you think they could have accomplished everything they did in this movie without having Tony die? I'm going to go ahead and say they could have, because we had 2 big emotional moments with the 2 main Avengers. Real quick, the gaming Ocher can't wait to rub Pepper Potts' Iron Man moment in my friend's face. I 100% knew she put the suit on. Good call. I'm going to make a small argument as why he didn't need to die. I'm okay with him dying. I'm not one of the people who were like, no, I wish Iron Man would have lived. No. Iron Man was one of the first. That movie was what kicked off the MCU, even though technically, what was the name of the first Captain America movie? The first Avenger, right? I believe. So with that being the case, with Captain Rogers being the first Avenger, it would have made sense for him to die. But he didn't need to die either, because we had the 2 big emotional moments. We had, obviously, everything that happened with Tony and his death and him using the Infinity Gauntlet and all that to undo and eventually kill him. But everything that happened with Captain America. Now, let's say they have another way they could have beaten Thanos without having somebody sacrifice, or maybe a minor character doing the sacrificing, a la Randy Quaid in Independence Day. Hey, assholes, I'm back. You know, that type of shit. That do something like that, you know, something kind of corny and maybe a little hackneyed. But if you have something that still works emotionally, and then you have the Captain America ending that we got, it's something I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about. The Captain America ending. Talking about the Tony Stark ending with Tony dying and everything. But the Captain America ending seems to be getting left out a lot. I don't see a lot of people getting into a lot of depth with it as far as, you know, getting real excited about that ending. Captain America got one of the most beautiful send-offs I think you're ever going to see. I mean, really. They let him go all the way back and basically live his life. He lived his life with the woman that he loved and lived to an old age doing it. And then he got to pass off the shield. And maybe this is why. Maybe people were not happy with the decision to go with Falcon as the next Captain America. I think most of us thought it was going to be Bucky. It would have made sense for it to be Bucky. I don't know why at this point they didn't just go ahead and pull the trigger on Bucky. aside from, everything that we know with identity politics and race politics. And I'm not trying to say that was a deciding factor, because Falcon is incredibly popular, and I don't have a problem with him being the new Captain America one iota. As long as it's good, as long as the movies kick ass, I don't have a fucking problem whatsoever. But it could be the reason why not a lot of people are talking about it. It also could just be as simple as having that end the movie after having the heartbreaking funeral of Tony Stark. I mean, obviously it had to go in the order that it did. So, Cap could be at the funeral and all that, and then go on his journey to go ahead and put the Infinity Stones back to where they needed to be and all that. But having to close the movie after all of that and then do it with Captain America, basically getting a happy ending, getting to live the life he wanted to live, and then pass over the shield to somebody else. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the best way to end the final sequence. Not saying it was bad, but from a memorability standpoint, for being like, nobody's talking about that. I don't see anybody talking about that. I see everybody talking about Iron Man. I see everybody talking about Fat Thor, which we're going to talk about because it's one of the best things ever. And so many other things. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. I got a feeling, and I'm only saying this based off of that I hear nobody talking about Falcon being Captain America from this point on. There is a chance, unless they're able to highlight Falcon in a better way, there is a chance that the next Captain America movie is going to flop. It's just, you got to stay with things are. When you change characters, when you go to a new character that is being the same person, the same character but different person, you're having a different guy be that superhero, you're taking a lot of risks. It's hard. And people loved Chris Evans as Captain America. Not so much Chris Evans as Chris Evans because he's a complete douchebag, but as Captain America, he's the motherfucking titties, I mean, that is Cap. He did a great job, and I don't think we're ever going to forget that. But it could be difficult moving forward if people are not talking about Falcon and the next Captain America and all that stuff. So my next question to you guys is, did they make the right decision going with Falcon over Bucky? And do you think that Bucky will end up being Captain America in the long run? Anyway, let's see here. Teddy, I like that he died rather he die in his height than have Robert play him forever and get bad. That's fair. Nick DiOrio, my boy Eats, would have loved a little more Tony plus Peter father-son esque relationship. The mentor role was cool. Yeah, everything that they did with Tony and Spider-Man in this movie was all about memories and small little things. And of course, their their reunification and all that, which was really cool. But yeah, it would have been cool to see a little bit more of that dynamic. But with the movie the way it was, and with Spider-Man being out of the movie for 75% of it, and as many storylines as they wrapped up and things that they plugged and played and did all of this stuff with, it was going to be difficult. Yeah, I never said that Falcon doesn't become Captain America in the comics. I never said that he doesn't. I know that he does. So does Bucky as well. And I don't think those Falcon Captain America comics sold a lot. I don't think that they were huge sellers. I don't think it went very well. Called Lemmy, she could be the next Iron Man, a.k.a. Ironheart. Very, very possible. They can go that route. They have a lot of options. They really do. Danny said he needed to go. Fair enough. Game over. Yes, but I think it's going to be huge for Spider-Man's future. Yeah, it has to be. Teddy, I like that he died. I already read that. That's good. I think they pissed on Black Widow's death with Stark's death, says Makad. Now, this is an interesting question because you see this sometimes. This had to be a movie where multiple people died. I'm actually kind of surprised that only 3 people died. Like, we didn't get a lot of deaths in this movie. I didn't get that. I don't feel like they pissed on Black Widow's death. I think because of the way that the movie went and because of all the things that they had to do and accomplish and all the moving parts, we were going to get a sacrifice as well. We're going to get multiple sacrifices. That's exactly what we did. Different kinds of sacrifices, different types of emotional responses, but we were going to get them. I don't know necessarily if it takes away from one's death to have another death. They accomplish different things. Tony can't do his sacrifice if Black Widow doesn't do hers. So I don't think it necessarily spits in the face, especially with the way that they did it. I mean, everything between Barton and Black Widow was so good their little hopscotch of who's going to die, who's going to be the martyr. I don't know. Let's fucking find out. I can jump off this cliff before you. No, you can't, bitch. Yes, I can. No, you can't. It was pretty great. Anything you can do, I can do better. I could jump off this cliff faster than you. That was pretty good. That was pretty great. But one had to precede the other. So, no, I don't think that because Tony died, it fucked with Black Widow's death. I don't think so at all. They were both important and they needed to happen. Teddy, I always like Falcon more, so I'm actually pro Captain America Falcon. Oh, you're going to be in the minority on that, I think. The game overture, what if Cap went through time and banged all the Avengers moms? Hell yeah. How about shout out to fucking Renee Russo for her job in this movie? When was the last time Renee Russo was even in a It's been a while, right? Dark World? Thor 2, right? That was the last time that she was in one of the Marvel movies in any sort of a prominent role, correct? Am I wrong there? I think I'm right. She looked amazing. That was Renee fucking Russo, dude. Lethal Weapon 3, Renee Russo playing Thor's mother. I mean, Freya. An incredible job. Not that her acting job was all that great. No, but she looked amazing. She looked incredible. And I love Renee Russo. Still fuckable to this day. Still gorgeous to this day. And she is old as fuck. I'm just thinking about this. Because how old is Renee Russo? Renee Russo's got to be pushing 60. Has to be. Has to be, man, because she was in her 40s during Tin Cup. Someone look that up for me. Let me know how the fuck old Renee Russo is, man. I'm going fucking crazy. Yeah, Renee Russo and the Thomas Crown Affair. She showed her tits in that movie. They were great, fantastic tits, and she was like 40. It was great. It really was. Let's see. Even Hawkeye as Captain America at one point, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, briefly. I think you're right. Nick Diorio, I was fine with Black Widow. I'm fine with Black Widow too, baby. Teddy, yes, they did make the right choice. Falcon was way better than Bucky. He's more entertaining and funnier. I like Bucky, but you might be right. For the whole tone of what the MCU is trying to do, Falcon might be the better choice. You might be right. Let's see if anyone's chilling in the chat, waiting to call. Get in there, into the Discord if you want to sound off on Avengers. Guilt-free. You can talk about all the spoilers that you want here, and you don't have to worry about ruining anybody's day about it. And that's just nice. 65. Holy shit. Good Lord. Yeah, Marissa Tomei is another one, too. 65. Hold on, man. All right, I understand that. You know what? I'm not even going to bother. I was about to go grab a screenshot from the movie because, like, Jesus, she looks so good. But they're doing amazing stuff with people. Look at Michael Douglas. They did a good job with him. Maybe not as good as a job as they did with Samuel L. Jackson. Holy shit. Oh, my Lord. But still. Pretty cool. All right, so let's go through the movie itself. Let's go through it and the big plot points and everything how the movie kind of went about. So the beginning of the movie was interesting. I like the way that they started going dark. The first hour of the flick was just dark. We saw everybody die. The opening scene deciding to be Barton's family getting dusted. What a brutal way. They really went after families in this movie, didn't they? They really played that family dynamic hard and just stuck it in. We had families being lost, families being created, the threat of a family member, like Tony's daughter, being erased or changed or whatever. All these things that were happening, they went so fucking hard with this whole thing with the family. They were like, we're going to make you either hate your family now because they're not as good as this family, or we're going to make you appreciate your family more than you ever have before. Because, man, they went so hard with the family narrative. It was insane. It really was. So they had me in tears right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Had me in tears, had me all fucked up. So they don't fuck around, man. They go right to the rescue. This was my first kind of, I'm not going to say uh-oh moment. I'm not going to go like where, oh boy, I think that we're having some issues. I'm not going to say that far. What I am going to say is when Captain Marvel just stumbled upon the Guardians ship, Tony and Nebula, I was kind of like, like, really? Dumb luck is the way to go? But it wasn't the only time in this movie where dumb luck was the way to go. And at least this wasn't as arbitrary as, I don't know, a pigeon, a pigeon or a rat being on a control panel, which is completely understandable. It could happen. That's why I didn't have a problem with that little weird idiosyncrasy. Let's go ahead and have an animal just walking across the keyboard to turn on a machine to bring back one of our heroes. Had a little bit of an issue with that, but at the same time, I don't have an issue with that because things in storage for long periods of time, there's going to be things that could happen. Yeah, sure, life is chaos. I could deal with that. And in the same vein, it's kind of what calmed me down and made me fucking do the same thing with Captain Marvel. I'm like, you know what? She's traveling the cosmos. Maybe she got a beacon. Maybe she was able to sense something that was fucking... Who knows? There's a million different ways that it could have went down that way. Maybe she got a tip while she was out. Don't know. There was not enough... Even at 3 hours, there was not enough movie to get into every single point on how every little happenstance thing happened. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't need to trudge that marsh. That's all right. It's all good. Let's see. It wasn't dumb luck. Pepper Potts sent her must trace signal Tony's helmet recordings. I don't see how she could have possibly done that. He didn't send anything to her because she was at the Avengers Center when Marvel brought the ship back. Well, that could have just been time. I mean, they could have been like, hey, Pepper, we found Tony, so get your ass down here and come see him. I don't think that she was sent. I think Captain Marvel had no contact with anyone to that point. We hadn't even seen Captain Marvel yet. So no, I don't know. I don't think that works. I don't think that fits. I think, because remember, last time that we saw Captain Marvel, last thing we knew about Captain Marvel, she went out, she was just flying. She was just patrolling the galaxy, you know? So I don't know. It's just, maybe I just didn't see it. It's possible that I just didn't see it. I don't know. Was Gamora 2 killed in the snap? I didn't see. The game overture, she had already shown up, I thought. Well, at the end of her... No, I don't think so. What? Carl G. Brie Larson also developed her character backwards. She filmed their endgame scenes before touching Captain Marvel. That's true as well. No, but she had already shown up. She was in Captain Marvel, but at the end of Captain Marvel, she left. She was gone. And they just showed that scene from what we thought was going to be Infinity War, but we never saw it. Or Endgame, excuse me. We never saw the scene. So while it was an end credit scene, we've seen that before where they used that end credit scene in the movie, most notably with Civil War, but they didn't this time. So I don't know. You are right. She did show up. It is possible. Yeah, you are right. It is possible. But I'm not 100% on that. We'll call it a little sketchy, but at the same time, I had no problems with it to begin with. Yeah, I had no problems to even begin with. So that didn't bother me too much. Can't wait for the director's cut so we could see what was cut. Oh, God. The director's cut might be like 5 hours long. Holy shit. But regardless, she rescues Tony and Nebula. They come back. Tony is scared shitless. I mean, the rest of the Avengers want to fucking go hard. They want to go after Thanos now. There was just another a possibility of a signal of the Infinity Stones being used again. So they want to roll right fucking now. They want to go so hard. They want to go take care of some shit. And Tony's like, nah. Tony's terrified. Tony wants nothing to do with it. He was completely done after being rescued, and you don't really blame him. Then I think probably the biggest shock of the early part of the movie, I'd say for the first hour, the biggest shock is Thanos being killed. Finding Thanos, it was brilliant. This was the part of the movie that I wasn't expecting. I knew that, and it's not even that they killed him so early. I was kind of expecting something like that to happen, that they were going to go and just off him early, and then we'd get a different version of Thanos, either future or past, which is exactly what ended up happening, which is fine. I got no problem with that. But the importance of showing Thanos die like that, and that scene is not a throwaway scene. That was not gratuitous. That was not just them going, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make up for Infinity War and have them cut the head off of Thanos here, because it doesn't accomplish anything. There was nothing to accomplish by making it happen. But because it happened, and then what happens to the characters after that moment, most notably Thor, it became one of the most important parts of the entire movie. That's when despair finally set in for everybody. It destroyed everyone's sense of belonging. Nothing was ever going to come back. Thanos was inevitable. This was going to happen in this way, and there's no going back. And for 5 years, everyone in the universe lived under that premise. Yes, they were trying to do the best they can. Yes, they were trying to rebuild. Yes, they were looking for solutions and answers. Thank God the theory about people collecting dust and trying to bring the superheroes back that way, that was not the what was actually going to happen. Thank Christ that was not the way they went. But to have 5 years of that, people lived their lives, Tony going off and having a child with Pepper, going completely off the grid, but still having some, making sure he was going to be safe, still building Iron Man suits and all of that, as we see. But everybody went their own ways and did different things, and it was because of that moment. That was the biggest moment of the first third of the movie. That was the movie that was the point that sent everything else on going forward and what we were going to see and how it was going to transpire. And when we get to see everybody later in the movie, when we got to see that 5-year jump, after Ant-Man comes back and they got to go get the band back together, which was cool. I don't have a problem with getting the band back together parts of movies. That's fucking awesome. We get to see where everyone was. The Ronin thing, which is fucking crazy. But let's go ahead and talk about Fat Thor. Arguably the most memeable and funniest thing of the entire movie. Of all the things that we were going to get, Fat Thor was probably the least likely. I don't think anybody had Fat Thor written down as a spoiler. I don't think anyone had Fat Thor written down as a possible plot point, let alone as a great plot point. You can make the argument that Infinity War 1, and maybe to a degree more so with 2, they're kind of Thor's movies. These were so important, and it started, when we had Ragnarok, and then everything after that with Infinity War and Endgame, Thor was so prominent. And let's talk about as to why. We got to see Thor in a different way in this movie. We got to see him different from the way that we've always gotten to see him. We got to see the comedic side in Ragnarok, and now we got to see this taken to a whole nother level in this movie in the realm of despair. Failure. What failure does to Thor? Failure destroyed him to the point where he wasn't even sure he was still worthy, to wield Myanmar, which we get later in the movie, by the way. All these things. It was that type of development, but there was a bigger reason behind it. And of course, we wouldn't know that till later on in the movie when we got that wonderful little hint, or not hint, straight up telling you, as Guardians of the Galaxy. So on that, with everything else, with Fat Thor and all the funny things, we could talk about the funny stuff that happens with it. That's great. But the big thing that we take away from Chris Hemsworth, that's not Liam Hemsworth, that's Chris Hemsworth, right? Whatever one, the actor who plays that motherfucker Thor, he is central. He is going to be huge. He is huge and important to the MCU going forward. We're going to see a lot of motherfucking Thor from this point on. And having him as part of the Guardians of the Galaxy team, brilliant. He's going to work so well there, and seeing him and Chris Pratt go back and forth. Holy shit. Can't wait for Guardians 3. Cannot wait for Guardians 3 now. It's going to be awesome. Teddy, talk about Hulk. That's my favorite 5-year evolution of a character in this movie. I think that's another one that people forget about very, 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 very easily when you're getting excited about the rest of the movie. This is when we got that big time jump. And we got to see Fat Thor. And we got to see all these different characters. Professor Hulk. We get to see Professor Hulk. And maybe not in the design that we thought we were going to get. Professor Hulk, when it originally got leaked that this was going to be a concept for the movie, we saw a very long-haired, stubbly, almost depressed looking Hulk. He also had glasses. That's not the Hulk that they went with. The Professor Hulk, actually, I want to call him Dude Bro Hulk because I think that's more appropriate. We got Dude Bro Hulk, the only person in the entire movie who was completely 100% adjusted. He was emotionally perfectly balanced, which is the point. I mean, it makes perfect sense. The only way that he'd be able to bring these two beings into symmetry is by being balanced. It was so fucking amazing. And then his interaction, his embracing with this broken earth that we have left, him still interacting with fans, wanting to take pictures with him and all of that. It was very cool seeing a content and happy Banner. Now, Mark Ruffalo is not the Bruce Banner that we have always known. This is the third Bruce Banner, unfortunately, second in the actual MCU, but still, we've never gotten a standalone with Mark Ruffalo. But yet, we have felt, because of Ruffalo's performances, we felt just how fucked over and beaten down he was. We've seen Banner try to kill himself in movies. He's a guy who didn't care about death and all this, but yet, here he is, being the one beacon of hope and all this stuff in the movie early on. Getting to see the Hulk be this perfectly balanced creature was awesome. Had some of the funniest lines, had some of the biggest moments. It was great. It really was cool to see, and definitely one of my favorite things. What do you guys think? Were you a big fan of Professor Hulk? Who'd you like more, Professor Hulk or Fat Thor, man? I think I'm going to go with Fat Thor, but just a little bit. Old school. I feel like once Thanos started wrecking shit in the MCU, they needed the origin movies for lesser characters because Thanos, Tony, and Thor kind of revolve around each other. Very true, and I'm glad that it seems that we're going to get a lot more Thor going forward. I'm not tired of Thor. I love Thor. I think there's so many ways you can go with that character. It just makes a lot of sense. Fat Thor slightly. I'm with you, Carl. Just slightly. Just slightly. All right, so after the 5 years have passed, everyone's trying to figure out exactly what they're supposed to do. A new plan presents itself because the reemergence, in a pretty heartbreaking fashion in and of itself, of Ant-Man. Ant-Man coming, seeing the world decimated in the way that it is, being brought back only because a fucking animal hopped on the stupid van that was in storage somewhere. I mean, like, holy shit. Unbelievable. And he's got to come and see the world in shambles and then try to figure out a way to move everything forward from that point. But the one thing that we get from it that was so important was the time machine. For lack of, I'm not going to talk about it in any other terms, the time machine. It was such an important part, and that's where the whole movie changed. And the plan changed. It became a heist movie, which was very cool because of the character that was now brought in, Ant-Man, who is a criminal. So we get that little callback. And I think every time that we got a center moment with a character from a past movie that was the title character of that franchise, we got to see something very indicative of that role. And we saw that very, very clear with Scott, with Ant-Man. It was so good. He's like a time heist. Time heist had me rolling. I like time heist. That was good stuff. Teddy, Hulk was cool because he also had a gentle giant thing going on, but you could tell he could still fuck some shit up. Oh, yes, he could. Yes, he could. So seeing all that happen was pretty damn neat. Having this plan, knowing that now we're going to go back in time. And part of that had to be going to Tony. They needed to go to Tony to get the rest of this science and math and all this stuff done because they didn't have anybody else. Banner really couldn't do it on his own at that point. He had a long time to try to figure it out. Nothing was working. So they have to go to the man, the myth, and the legend himself. And that was a cool thing because we got to see everything that Tony had been up to in the 5 years since Infinity War. The family, being off the grid over on his own little island, shunning the superhero life, only caring about the family. I thought it was cool. I thought it was an interesting way to go. Tony was more haunted by the past events than anybody else. Tony has been the guy, and Thanos has said it so perfectly, you're burdened by knowledge. Those who know what to do, and more importantly, the ones that are willing to act upon that knowledge, they have the most burdens in the entire world to bear because they're willing to do the things that simply nobody else is able to do. And that's what Tony was burdened with. And seeing him go through all these range of emotions just throughout the course of the movie, if you didn't get caught up in that, if it didn't make everything else a little bit more special, it's like, why'd you go? It really did. It hit everything all on me. Code, I love them both. Fat Thor was slightly better. Just slightly. Again, slightly. We still have Discord open. We will be taking your calls, questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, quips, quotes, likes, loves, and so much more. Feel free. Let's start getting into the second half of the movie where things start really heating up. After they go through the time heist, we start realizing that some serious shit is going to have to go down. We knew that with the teams going into the quantum realm and going back to different points of time, and we got all of our fun with baby Ant-Man and all that stuff, which was great. Great visual gags, and I'm glad they kept it in there for the Marvel stuff, because we need that comedy, that levity. It's so important with a franchise that is as heavy as this movie was in particular. We needed those moments of levity, and I think they landed each and every single one of them. I think there were good jokes, good beats. It was good. But once they had to go into the past and we had to see the different teams going to get the stones, we knew as soon as Barton and Black Widow were put together to go get the Soul Stone, we knew someone was going to have to go. Figured it was probably going to be Barton, because why would that version of Barton want to live? But Black Widow decided to show that I can do Greg Louganis faster than you can, and she does a fucking header off the goddamn cliff and dies. And they're able to get the Soul Stone. We also got another cheeky little fucking cameo by Red Skull, which was nice. What's up, Zanta Claws? Good to see you. Because, I mean, he was banging Pepper. You better believe he was. Tony was banging Pepper 5 years. He was sneezing while he was banging that Pepper. That was good stuff, too, I bet. Oh, they put out a pretty little baby. What's up, Zanta? Good to see you here, buddy. So moving forward, the question was going to be, how was this going to be completely screwed up? Were they going to be able to complete their mission without Thanos knowing? Was Thanos going to be able to figure it out? How was it going to happen? And there were so many ways that they could have. Man, you want to talk about brilliance in writing for just a second? Let's talk about how fucking brilliant, and maybe it was they just got lucky. But you think about, since the second that we saw Nebula, they have hit so big, so motherfucking big on her being part machine, being mostly machine. Thanos meticulously trying to create a perfect version of her. But we never knew why. Like, we understood she's a robot, all right, and we're getting some semblance of cool stuff that was going, but we never thought it was going to be a huge, major plot point, and it was. The fact that another nebula entering another time where a nebula already existed being the reason why they were able to figure out what was going on, they being Thanos, because she's a robot and she slipped on the same network. Fucking brilliant. Brilliant. I never thought that was a possibility. And I'm a fairly okay writer. I got some good ideas. That was brilliant. To hack the extra nebula to fucking get all the plot points of what the Avengers were doing brilliantly. Oh my God, it was so good. And Zan says it worked well scientifically because it matches several quantum theories. They did a really good job of that. They explained the whole Back to the Future paradox thing so well in this movie. Bruce Banner did a great job of explaining, because of the moving timelines, there's no danger to the original timeline because of the continuing shift. That was cool. And so Back to the Future was I love that everybody was just quoting anything they saw in a fucking time travel movie. That was great, man. I really thought they did a good job at all that. It was very funny, very well done. So to have Thanos now, with all the bad guys that we've already had to deal with in Infinity War, having them get a second chance, another chance to show what they're able to do, another chance to claim ultimate victory for Thanos, all these things. We knew shit was about to go down, and go down they absolutely did. So let's talk about two things. The plan actually working, and them getting the Infinity Stones. That's the first part of this. It's like it worked. They got it. That's great. But something happened in all of that we're kind of forgetting. Or at least it's not being mentioned because it's not the original version of this character. And it could be the same thing that we're talking about with what Zanta Claws said a little bit earlier. Apparently there's a Black Widow film in the making. Yeah, there is. Has been for a while now. But we don't know what timeline. Timelines are starting to become a more important thing. So a Black Widow movie could still happen because we know there is still another Black Widow out there in other timelines. So telling that movie, now that the timelines are explained and finite, they could go back and tell from a different time or even a completely different timeline of Black Widow if they want to, although I don't think they will. They have the Soul Stone. I think they'll figure out a way to bring her back, as well as Gamora at some point, or we're just going to get version 2 of Gamora, which I'm okay with that as well. Black Widow will likely be a prequel, though, more than likely. But I'm saying they have those opportunities now to be able to do it. But let's talk about the biggest anomaly, and that is Loki. Loki, at the end of Avengers, remember Loki getting taken into custody? Well, they fucked that up this time, trying to get the Tesseract. They screw up the entire mission, essentially, and Loki ends up with the Tesseract, and he disappears. So we're definitely going to be getting another Loki appearance at some point, but it's not going to be our Loki. That's the thing. This is actually kind of disconcerting because that Loki was a piece of shit. That Loki was still about, I don't know, a good 6 or 7 different betrayals. We've had like 6 or 7 different betrayals after that moment from Loki. So I don't know. Like now we at the point where we love Loki. It's gonna be interesting where they go with it there. That was set up for the Loki television show. I haven't heard about that yet. I didn't even know that Loki is getting a TV series. Okay, that's fine. Well, again, that plays to the whole idea that they're gonna go ahead and use the timelines to create more content, which again, I'm totally okay with. So we got that. We got the Incredible Hulk being able to use the Infinity Stones to bring back the Dusted. Of course, we did get the the Avengers compound. The Avengers compound being completely destroyed by Thanos was fucking wicked. God, seeing everything just getting beat to shit in the way that it was fucking crazy. And once again, seeing the power of Thanos is just a marvel to behold. But once again, getting to see the characters, then Gamora, because we always knew Gamora was a little bit dicey in her alignment anyway. Getting to see all these characters make these decisions once again, the ones who were going to help, the ones who were going to hinder. Getting to see that was cool. It was taking things back to a different place in the timelines of the movies and the characters and the development. I thought it was very cool. So, pretty damn neat. We got to see a lot of cool stuff from Peggy Carter. If you were a fan of the Peggy Carter series, we got a couple people from that, including Peggy herself. And then let's talk about the big moments that we got to see with everybody coming back. We're going to wrap up here real soon. Nobody's calling in, and that's totally fine. I'll just keep rambling for a few more minutes, and I'll get out of here. The big things that end up going down at the end of this movie when the undusting takes place and we get the big fuck off fight that maybe we weren't expecting to go down in the way that it did. Like, I wasn't expecting another major Wakanda type battle, but that's exactly what we got. And we got it in the coolest fucking way possible with everyone coming back through portals, Doctor Strange weaving all these portals, everybody coming back, everybody getting back into the fight, seeing them slowly pop back in, their appearances, those reconciliations. And then through everything, all the insanity, they give us arguably the best callback of the entire movie and of the entire franchise. You go back to Age of Ultron. The Avengers were celebrating. They were celebrating a job well done of a mission. And they started having a little bit of fun. Everybody tried to lift Thor's mighty hammer, Mjolnir. And Captain America moved it just a little bit. And that always led us to the thought, maybe we're going to be able to see Steve Rogers wield Thor's hammer. And we did. And we fucking got to see it. Holy shit. Incredible. Really, really cool stuff. Getting this, I thought I was going to hate it because I had heard about it. And I was like, oh, God. Fuck Captain America, goody two-shoes, motherfucker, I don't care. And nobody else is worthy, only Steve. Fuck you, Steve. But anyway, it was cool. Getting to see him shoot lightning out of the motherfucker, it was awesome. It was really neat. So that was very fun. Carl G. Disney also announced that the Marvel TV shows will have movie-like budgets. Well, with all the movie that Endgame just made, they can afford to do it. $1.2 billion if you've yet to hear. Teddy, dude, guess who was in that big scene? Howard the fucking Duck. Guess what? A Howard the Duck movie is coming from Kevin Smith. What the fuck? I don't even know how I feel about that. You know I love Kevin Smith, but Howard the Duck, I don't know. All right. So Tony has to pay the ultimate price. Unfortunately, he does have to die. They're able to get everything back to some sort of homeostasis. Thor joins the Asgardians of the Galaxy. Captain America passes the shield on. Everybody else we don't get a lot of information on. We know in the summer we're going to see Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's going to have a huge part to play going forward. Obviously, he's going to be one of the big center characters going on from this point on. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to keep the momentum from Endgame. That's the last question. Now, we could talk about all the things that you liked and loved about the movie, and I want you guys to light up my comment section after this is over. I want you to give me your favorite moments from the movies, from this movie in particular, and what would you have liked to have seen omitted? Is there anything that maybe you didn't want in there, maybe something you didn't like? Everyone's blowing this movie so hard, so if you want to go ahead and give a negative, go ahead and put that in there too. I want to see your guys' comments about it later on. I want to read your comments, and I'll interact with you if you do. So we didn't get a lot of other setup aside from the Asgardians of the Galaxy, which I think is okay. We're going to get a lot moving forward, but is that momentum going to be able to keep going without the big stars, without Robert Downey Jr.? By the way, Robert Downey Jr. probably will come back for another spot appearance of Iron Man at some point. I feel like he's young enough where it's not out of the question that in 5 years or something like that, we'll get something to bring him back. I don't know. Captain America, they leave an obvious way to bring him back with his aging and everything, and we saw that earlier in the movie with Scott. I know it's a little bit different because it looks like he actually lived, like he didn't come back. He lived that way and did it and lived naturally until he was old. But we saw earlier in the movie, baby Ant-Man, old Ant-Man got turned back to regular Ant-Man. So why can't they do the same thing to Captain America? I think they gave us that just in case the Falcon idea does not work. But everybody else is kind of in flux. We're going to get Spider-Man. We're going to get another Guardians or Asgardians of the Galaxy in all these movies. Captain Marvel is going to be very important, but she took a beating through this movie too, by the way. Even the people who loved the movie, there were still a lot of people who were like, Captain Marvel didn't need to headbutt Thanos. And, or Thanos didn't have to headbutt Captain Marvel and nothing happened. There was some weird stuff like that people were saying. But other than that, I think everybody came out looking very good in this movie. I think everybody came out looking like heroes and people that you'd want to see in another movie. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from that point on. Carl J., I love the scene where all the female characters gathered together for the final battle. Made wonder about a female Avengers movie. Matt Feige confirmed this already. I don't think that's a good idea. If there is anything that's going to flop, I think something like that will fail because of the controversies already that we've had with female characters. So I think it's very possible that hopefully that does not happen. Just because I don't want to deal with all the SJW politics. I don't want to deal with the bullshit. But it was one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. I know the girl power complaint. Some people complained about the girl power stuff. I didn't. I fucking loved it. I thought it was a cool little thing. It wasn't too much. It didn't go on for too long. Getting to see all those awesome characters together and go kick a little ass. Don't worry. She has help. That was cool. Teddy, if you really think about it, Ant-Man was the most important hero in the movie. Without him, the heroes would be just hopeless and not try anything. Yep. So it's not even Ant-Man. It's that rat or pigeon or whatever scattered across the motherfucking keyboard. That's it. Without that, it don't happen. It don't happen. So there you go. I don't think there's much else to say. I'm tired. I want to go rest. I might go back to Twitch. I want to hear what you guys thought about Avengers. Go ahead and to close this show out, give me your rating 1 to 10. What did you think about Endgame? Would you pay for it again? Would you go to the theater to see it again? Are you going to buy it on Blu-ray? What are you going to do? Is it now a instant classic in your realm of movies? It is for me. This goes up there immediately to the top of the MCU universe and maybe even further. I really loved it. 3,000 out of 10. I agree with you, Brandon. I absolutely loved it. Makat says Captain Marvel was fine. I enjoyed her movie, but how she was using Endgame, yeah, I agree. I didn't really have a problem with it either. Thought it was perfectly fine. I'm still a little sick, as you can hear. I'm sorry. My voice is starting to go out. I may not do anything else the rest of the night because of it. I'm going to let myself rest a little bit. Thank you guys for hanging out. You're awesome. Keep it copious, folks. And remember, as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends. I'm sorry, I got to end it, man. My fucking voice is going. Peace out, guys. Hit us with that outro. Dueling Duels, Drew. Peace.